Capis from Blackpool. A very good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the seaside, the Sunshine Coast of Lancashire. Thrills, spills and roller coasters, and that's just watching Wrexham right now. Welcome to the Fylde Coast, where Wrexham begin a very important afternoon, you'd feel, in their season. Just 3 games to go now for Phil Parkinson's side, and they come up against a Blackpool team who are right in form, having won 6 of their last 8 matches. Bloomfield Road, traditionally a tough place for opposition sides to visit, but Parkinson's men know they need a big performance this afternoon if they're going to keep up the challenge on Wycombe Wanderers for that second place spot. Wanderers starting the afternoon's proceedings a point ahead of Wrexham, but up against Charlton Athletic this afternoon, another team who could yet nip in and take that second spot. Mia Roberts and Andy Morell are enjoying the day by the seaside. Any candy floss for you yet, Mia, today?
Not yet. Maybe a pit stop on the way home if we get 3 points. I think that might be the little reward there. But no, not as sunny as I would have liked it to be a few weeks ago. I was sort of picturing a dream day out with possible, promotion on the cards. But hopefully today we can get 3 points, and it could be another great away day for this club.
Yeah, as you say, Mia, driving up the M6 in driving rain, it didn't feel very spring-like. Andy, you've been on this ground many times
and in weather like that.
And in weather like that, exactly. And Bloomfield Road didn't always look like this when you were a Blackpool player. Andy, what does it feel like to be back here?
Oh, it's great. Loads of familiar faces, obviously, but it's changed quite a bit. That stand behind us over there, that was a car park, and this here was just like 5 rows of bleachers, for that American audience, obviously. But yeah, outdoors for the away fans as well. So a lot of money's been ploughed in, especially off the back of the Premier League where they got to. But brilliant to be back. Loads of brilliant memories here, but I'm hoping for a good game because both teams really need to win.
Yeah, as Andy says, we are located in the East Stand this afternoon. The Wrexham fans are away to our right-hand side. Andy, Mia and myself are in an area unavailable for supporters this afternoon, so plenty of space for us to enjoy, and good to have the Wrexham fans in close proximity. We understand co-chairman Rob McElhenney will be here as well this afternoon, so let's hope the team can put on a good show for the co-chairman. Well, Phil Parkinson has named his team for this afternoon. Let's have a look at that right now, because the manager makes 3 changes from the team who drew with Wigan Athletic on Good Friday. Dan Scarr comes in to the central centre-back role in place of Owen O'Connell, who does make the bench. Then Ryan Longman switches from left wing back to his more familiar right wing back role. That means that James McLean can come back in and captain the side from left wing back. Ryan Barnett drops to the bench, and the other change is a return in midfield for George Dobson in place of Elliot Lee. Mia, effectively a reversal of the 2 changes made by Parkinson on Friday when he brought Lee in and Barnett in, and obviously Scarr coming in for O'Connell, whose injury isn't so bad that he can't make the squad, but the decision obviously taken not to start him. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, not too many surprises. I think we saw Owen O'Connell doing the fitness test with Kev Mulholland just before the players came out on the pitch, and just didn't look too perfect. I think you don't want to take that risk and possibly have to take him off early and ruin the sort of flow of the game if we do start well. So I think that's probably the right decision, and hopefully he'll be ready to go again for Charlton. But I think Dan Scarr did himself no harm when he came on Friday. I thought he put in a real good second half performance against Bristol, and then in the case of Elliot Lee and Ryan Barnett, I don't think they can have too many arguments either. I don't think either did too much to sort of cement their place, particularly Ryan Barnett. I think he would have been really disappointed with that performance on Friday. Just not like him at all, which is a real shame, because I was really hoping he came in and sort of looked the Ryan Barnett that we saw at the start of the season. But that can happen in football. You can lose a bit of confidence, especially obviously with Ryan Longman coming in and just sort of leapfrogging him in a way. But no, I think back to today with James McLean coming back in, hopefully he's right up for it, and George Dobson as well.
Andy, can I just ask you about Dan Scarr, because I think he's been sub not used something like 32 times this season. To suddenly be summoned off the bench at half-time in the previous game, and now to start when we're really at that key part, the very end of the season. I know he's an experienced player, he played in the Championship many times for Plymouth last year, but how difficult is that to step in, if not from the cold, but from being a bench warmer to being a starter at this point in the season?
Well, he'll be buzzing, I'm sure. Not for Owen O'Connell, obviously, but for him getting back in the team. He's sat there and watched so much football this year that he'll be really frustrated with not getting a better opportunity at starting in his team. But Owen O'Connell has been magnificent in that central role, really aggressive and good in the air, and his passing has been brilliant. So he's had to just be patient and really wait his time and wait for this opportunity now. And he does everything right. He warms up properly. He at half-time goes right through the rigours of the same warm-up every half-time, ready to go on if called upon, and that shows me that he's a brilliant professional and is immediately ready at any point in the game, which you should be as a substitute. You're in full focus on it, and so I'm sure that he'll be buzzing to get this opportunity to start, and he'll go, right, I'm going to keep the shirt, hopefully.
And in terms of some of Phil's comments, and we'll catch up with Phil in just a few minutes' time, but one of the comments he'd made in the previous post-match after the Wigan game was that he wanted the players to take the handbrake off, and he wanted them to play with more fun and go out and enjoy themselves. The selection he's made this afternoon, though, is a little bit more pragmatic than the one we saw on Friday. How do you think the two of those things come together?
Well, I just think away from home, really. I think McLean gives us a balance on the left-hand side, and he'll be fresh as well, fresh in the sides, because a lot of our play comes down the sides of our wing-backs. And I think Elliot Lee, he's played not that much football in the past sort of month and a half, and so a game Friday, game Monday might be just a bit too much to start both. So maybe those are just two to freshen up. And Dobson came on and did relatively well as well in the last 15 minutes when he came on. So I don't think they're too much of a surprise. I've been going on about it for a few weeks now. I just want Jay Rodriguez to stay up the pitch and play with Sam Smith today, because we've got to win. And so let's leave it up to the defenders and the midfielders to look after the back door, and you go and score us the winning goal.
Well, we touched on the ground that we're in today, Bloomfield Road. Let's have a little bit look at the stadium in some more detail, because Blackpool's ground here is one of the most famous stadia in the country, as Andy has mentioned Of course, through the years, Blackpool have had ups and downs, ownership issues, a period of a fans boycott when they went around 3 seasons with hardly anyone attending games in protest at the then ownership, and the ground has taken a long time to come up to the sort of standards that you see on the screen there. But Bloomfield Road, home of a club who famously won the FA Cup in 1953, Stanley Matthews and Stan Mortensen, the stars that day, and they were also runners-up a little bit later in the 1950s to Manchester United. And as you could see on the graphic, Bloomfield Road, not the first ground that this famous old club used, but very much the one that in the vast majority of their history they have played their football at. Andy, we touched at the start of the programme that you played here, of course, for many years for Blackpool. Is there one particular game that you remember where Bloomfield Road really was electric?
Well, it was the playoff semi-final second leg. We played Oldham away, and we managed to win there 2-1, but we had about 15 chances, one-on-ones, Keegan, and we didn't take them. And then the night before, we had watched Forest play Yeovil with the 2-0 lead, and Yeovil come back to beat them 5-2, and I just felt that night that I didn't sleep at all, because it was one of those, we've missed our opportunity here, but we came here and we were brilliant that day, and we managed to score a couple of goals, and we beat them 4-2 in the end. But that was, the place was bouncing, and that took us to Wembley, and thankfully we won that as well against Yeovil. So really good memories those times, and some good games here as well.
And of course the era when Blackpool were on their road eventually to the Premier League. They had one season there under Ian Holloway in 2010-2011. Well, Phil Parkinson has been to this ground many times as player and manager, and as ever on Matchday Live. We had the chance to catch up with him just a few minutes ago for his thoughts ahead of kick-off. Phil, when we chatted post-match after the Wigan game, you said you wanted to see a little bit more fun in the way that the players played. How have you been able to bring that through in the time you've had together before today?
I think first half hour the other day was decent. We had some good opportunities, and we just looked a little bit inhibited after we conceded the goal. And we've come too far as a group to let that happen. And we went through away games in recent weeks or since January and what we've done well, and moments of inspiration within those games. Matt Skill's goal against Mansfield, Fletcher's goal against Huddersfield, and just like playing with a bit more freedom in terms of the way we go about our job. We've done brilliant to get where we are, and we want to make sure that we give everything, and everything is obviously effort, but it's also make sure you go and impose yourself as a team and as an individual on the opposition. And we've had plenty of times we've done that this season, and we're looking forward to doing that again today.
Have the players had a light training session between Friday and today?
Yeah, we were off Saturday, came in yesterday. So got everybody going again, got the legs going from the ones who played, and the others obviously did a bit more. Preparation was decent.
3 changes from you today. Jimmy McLean comes back in for Ryan Barnett, with Ryan Longman switching to the other side. Yeah. Dan Scarr in for Owen O'Connell, and a return for George Dobson for Elliot Lee. Just talk us through your thinking with those two.
Owen is on the bench actually. He twisted his knee a bit, and we were concerned he had cartilage damage, but the scans come back okay. He's had a fitness test. He's good enough to be on the bench if needed. Dobbo, like I said with Dobbo before, he'd been playing with a lot of problems over the last few weeks, and a real warrior for us. I felt the time was right to take him out of the team at the weekend, and he feels refreshed for that and a lot better. And Jimmy likewise as well, came on and had a good impact the other day, and we need Jimmy's experience out there today.
Blackpool difficult to beat here, Phil. They've drawn 11 of their matches and they've won 6 of their last 8. What sort of challenge do you think Steve Bruce's side will give you? Yeah,
similar to what we played in the home game, 4-4-2, 2 out-and-out front players who look to run in behind. Obviously Apter on the right-hand side, who got his hat-trick last week. We need to double up quickly on him, but equally he can play high at the times, and that space in and around him and Lee Evans, I thought we exploited really well in the home game. And that's what we've been working with or speaking to the lads about, and shown some clips of the home game where we made the pitch really big in possession, and we got our wing backs in some great positions. So it's like any team, they've got good players. We need to get the detail right, how we're going to deal with them, but I thought we gave them a lot of problems in the home game.
Phil, thanks very much for joining us. All the very best. Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson giving me his thoughts a few minutes ago ahead of this afternoon's match with Blackpool. Mia, I thought it was quite refreshing after the Wigan game that Phil was using phrases like wanting to see the players take the handbrake off, play with more fun, enjoy it more. If that philosophy seeps through onto the field of play today, then what you'd hope we'd see is a performance from Wrexham with more expression, perhaps a little bit more risk, more confidence, and perhaps signifying a little bit the way that the team was playing pre-Christmas at times.
Yeah, I think so, and it's something I think that can be said quite easily, and people go, well, yeah, just play a bit more free and take the handbrake off, like Phil says. But it's sometimes easier said than done, and I think the players have I think in the last few weeks we've sort of seen it and maybe feeling that pressure a little bit more than we thought they would. I think we were saying that we sort of fancied us ahead of Wycombe, Charlton, Stockport, just in terms of the experience we have on that pitch. So I think that's been a little bit of a surprise to people, but it shows that they're human, and that's a completely normal reaction. But no, I think that's something that I think the fans definitely over there want to see, and a lot of people obviously associate with the club are sort of looking at these last two games in particular and sort of coming off the pitch going, well, we didn't even deserve 3 points or at times even more than 1 point, and that's been the disappointment. And I think that's why the sort of vibe, if you like, has gone down a little bit, even though we are still only 1 point behind Wycombe, and it sort of feels like it's a lot more when really it isn't, and we're still right in this race.
I think it's the fear factor of I felt on Friday that we played not to lose, and rather than going and winning the game, and the fear is if I play a forward pass we lose possession, rather than we might create a chance from it, or if I run forward and make something different or change our shape a little bit, as in I make a forward run which then one of the front two come off and into the same space that I've come from. Just those two sorts of movements, we start from a very rigid base, and we're not that free-flowing, fluid. We haven't been all season, but we've certainly had a lot more attacking flair, if you like, than we have had in the past sort of month, I would say, earlier in the season. And I think it's just going back to that, and the staff taking that away from the players and going, just go and play. And if it's passes on, just play it. If there's a run on you feel it, go and run. Trust your teammates to go and be that player to help you out if needs be. And that's where I think you can take that make that fun and enjoyment back into the group.
Well, it'll be fascinating to see this afternoon if we see some of those moments, and if Wrexham play in a different style to the one we saw on Friday. Let's have a reminder of where the league table stands going into this afternoon's matches, because there's all sorts of permutations. Looking at the way the rest of the season shapes up, it could all end in so many different ways if we wind the clock forward to a week's time when Charlton Athletic come to the Stoke Kairas. So Wycombe Wanderers start in second position, as you can see on our screen there, on 84 points. They're at home to Charlton Athletic today, so a Charlton Athletic win would take Charlton up to 82. A Wrexham win would then take Wrexham up to 86 and back into pole position again. Clearly, though, a Wycombe win and a Wrexham defeat here, and suddenly that becomes a 4-point margin and only 2 games to try and haul that back in, which would be a tall order and would require Wrexham to get a lot of support from Wycombe's remaining opposition, Leyton Orient and Stockport, on the final day. The battle for 6th is also intriguing. Leyton Orient start it in pole position, but Blackpool, today's opposition, although they're down in 10th, they do have that extra game in hand. That's against Birmingham City, who may not be, if not on the beach at this stage, as a popular phrase in football, but having won the league and with nothing to play for, they might be a little bit less intense in their preparation. So if Blackpool reel off 4 straight wins, that would take them to 75, and that could yet be enough for them to finish 6th. So plenty of motivation for Steve Bruce's team this afternoon. Mia, Wycombe squaring up to Charlton today, 2 teams in very good form. Where would your money be on that one?
I think it's really tough to say. I think Charlton will be right up for it, as they should be, obviously knowing as well they've got Wrexham a week today and could absolutely have it in their own hands, really, if they want it to be. So that's a really interesting tie. But like you say, I think Blackpool will also be right up for it today, sadly, in our case, because they're still right in the race for that 6th position, as you say. I think they'll know. Steve Bruce will be saying to them, listen, let's just go win our games. The form they've been in has been incredible. I think Steve Bruce deserves a lot of accolades and praise for what he's done since he's come in here, because he's really lifted this squad. I think they've really shown so much inspiration, really, since he's come in, and confidence, especially considering what Steve Bruce had to go through that tragedy earlier on in the year as well. So I think he deserves a lot of credit. So I think, like I say, they'll be right up for it today, and this will be a really good battle.
Andy, we've seen Wrexham go on 3-game winning runs 3 times this season. One of them was also actually a 4-game winning run. But that's really what they've got to do now, isn't it? Because I think Wycombe have got to finish 3 straight wins to keep Wrexham away from them if Wrexham win all 3 games. For me, if Wrexham can win 3 games, that will be enough. I can't see Wycombe not dropping a point somewhere in their last 3. Of course they might, but the question is, can Wrexham find 3 straight wins in the same way that they've done 3 times prior this season?
Well, they can, because they've got it in the locker to do that. They need to go out and play with that freedom that we've spoken about. And if Wycombe go and win their 3, you have to hands down and say, well, with their running, they've been fantastic, and they have been all season anyway. They've had a little wobble earlier on, but have really come through it. Our opponents here, they would have been right in the mix had it not been for like 9 straight draws, I think it was, here at home. And if they'd have won a couple of those, they'd have been right in the mix. And so I think these have got a fantastic front 4. We felt lucky Sonny Carey's not playing on the left-hand side. He sort of plays as a left, but he's a central midfielder. He just drifts in. So he's not playing. He's scored 8 goals this season in the league. They've got 32 goals between them, the front 4, and that's some going out of 4 players. So we've just got to be at our best, look after them, but we've got to play our game. Just get in their faces, go about it, give the crowd something to cheer about, which I don't think we've done over the past couple of games, and let's get our teeth into it.
Let's have a look across the division at all the fixtures taking place today. We've touched on, of course, the big battle in Buckinghamshire between Wycombe Wanderers and Charlton Athletic, but let's have a little rattle around the other games. Barnsley facing Peterborough, mid-table battle, that one. Bristol Rovers, who are still in trouble at the wrong end of the table despite that point on Friday, placed Stevenage today. Burton Albion against Birmingham City. Cambridge United face Leyton Orient. It's Crawley against Exeter. Lincoln up against Bolton Wanderers. Mansfield up against Reading. Northampton against relegated Shrewsbury. Stockport County against Huddersfield, who have really slipped out of playoff contention. Stockport not out of it to finish second. It would need a fairly remarkable run of events for them to finish second, but they're certainly right in the playoff mix and virtually there mathematically. Wigan Athletic squaring up to Rotherham United. Just looking across the matches at the bottom there, Burton Albion, their Mia against Birmingham, might fancy their chances against a team who are potentially less focused, and Bristol Rovers, having got that point against Wrexham on Friday, up against mid-table Stevenage. Those perhaps the 2 key games at the bottom.
Yeah, I think so, and I think Burton, in the last few weeks have shown another level, really. I thought they were really impressive against us when they came to the racecourse. Obviously had that disappointment of losing the man earlier on, but I thought still really sort of shut us out well for a long period of that game, made it really difficult. So, I think they'll fancy themselves against Birmingham today. Obviously Birmingham not much to play for. Obviously they'll probably be wanting to hit that sort of 100-point mark, make a bit of history, but no, I think that's another manager. Look at Bowyer, how well he's done since he's gone into that club that everyone sort of thought were down and out already, but the fight they've turned around and shown people that they're still alive.
We talk about pressure at the top trying to get out the league. That's pressure down there dropping out and relegations. That's a horrible feeling. So those 2 are desperate for 3 points, and obviously Burton have got Birmingham at home. That's no easy feat, but Burton's form, like Mia says, has been all right, really giving it a go, and we're miles away from staying in the league, so have done brilliant to get into the position that they are. And Bristol, we played them last week, they showed a bit of fight, showed a bit of grit, so they're not too far away either, so it's going to be a great little battle down at the bottom as well to stay in the division.
Yep, lots of twists and turns at both ends of the table ahead. Let's have a reminder of what happened when these 2 teams squared up last. That was on Boxing Day, of course, at a very chilly, very foggy Stoke Kairas. Wrexham prevailing on that occasion by 2-1. It was an early goal from Ashley Fletcher which silenced the home fans, but Paul Mullin's wonderful looping volley equalised matters midway through the first half, before Stephen Fletcher was the beneficiary of a late penalty award against Ash Casey for handball, and Fletcher, as he was doing around that time of the year, winning the game for Wrexham in the latter stages, something that was becoming a habit about that time. That 2-1 win, part of a good little run around the end of 2024. Can you remember much of that afternoon, Mia? I think pouring your eyes through the fog was the biggest challenge, wasn't it? Real pea super.
Yeah, it was a difficult one to co-commentate on that Ashley.
Very. No idea who scored that first, was
exactly.
It? It was like, what's happened there, like over there?
Yeah, it was a tough one, that. But no, good game from what I remember. I think Blackpool showed a good account for themselves. Probably were unlucky not to get anything from the game. But that was, like you say, around that period where it sort of felt like we were just always gonna get the 3 points. And I think that's something we've sort of lacked in the last few weeks in particular, especially when we've got onto 15-10 minutes of these sort of matches where we're just waiting for that winning goal, and it just hasn't even felt like it's coming. So if we can get back into that sort of momentum, that would hopefully get us across the line.
Well, the lack of a winning goal was certainly the problem on Good Friday. Struggling Bristol Rovers arrived at the Stoke Kairas with 6 straight defeats behind them, but Wrexham weren't able to make it 7 on what became a frustrating afternoon.
Feet on the right, Rathbone inside. Cleworth 25 yards out. They're backing off him. He's in the box. He hits it. Oh, it's a great save. Wow, Jedward. Brilliant one-handed save. The shot was deflected. That's a hell of a good stop. Just slowing it down. O'Connell over the halfway line. Wrexham looking bright early on. Here's Barnett. Cleworth's outside. Barnett cuts inside easily again. Squares it. Lee's got space here. Tell Tom to shoot. He does, but he took a bit of time. Shaw did well to get the block. Corner. But we're getting that at the moment.
Yeah, and Elliot Lee looks really lively.
Rathbone with the in-swinger to the far post. Keeper can't get there. Oh, it's a crucial defensive header as Cleworth was attacking it. And then the shot comes back in by Rathbone. Another fantastic save by Ward. Rathbone pulled it in. The keeper unsighted. Just got his fingertips to it. Incessant pressure here as Wrexham just look to work out a way through. Brunt has a glorious ball. Smith gets there ahead of the keeper. Tight angle, goes round him. Has to cut back again. Back to Longman. Can he hit it? Oh, he's got it all wrong. Well, Ward again did well. Came out really quickly. Didn't give Smith the angle for the shot. And yeah, Longman's attempt to curl it into an open goal with defenders between him and goal was well off the mark. O'Connell stretch out a leg, put it behind. Here is the away swinging corner. It's in. Calderon celebrating wildly in the dugouts. Great ripped delivery and a glancing header across Okonkwo, who had no chance. It went inside the far post, and Bristol Rovers take a shot lead. Line James across to Longman. Pops it back first time to Rathbone. I want to see Longman turn and do this, run at Mola. He delivers to the far post. Fletcher gets up, heads it over the bar. That was a huge chance. Corner given.
Good save.
Inside to James, lifts it looking for Longman, and he'll get that. It's a good ball. Mola's tight on his back as Longman has got Dobson in support. Dobson playing on the right of the diamond. Lee wants it, gets it edge of the area. He's marked by Sawyers, feeds it quickly back to Longman, chance to cross, digs the ball into the 6-yard box, headed part clear, driven in. Yes! Wrexham pull one back. The 76th minute, and Matty James, a great finish, and he's wheels his arms, telling the crowd to get on their feet. The stand-in skipper now O'Connell's off. What a calm finish that was.
Yeah, listen to that let-off in the Stoke Kairas. It's a great finish, great technique from Matty James. What a little goal that is.
5 seconds left. Okonkwo has to launch it long. Smith and Marriott are after it. Smith backing in, good defending, it's cleared, and the ref adds nothing on whatsoever to the meagre 4 minutes that he adds on, and Bristol Rovers have come here and dealt Wrexham a huge blow. We draw 1-1 at home to Bristol Rovers. Bristol.
Not such a good Friday then for Wrexham, as Bristol Rovers came and earned a point in their quest to stay in Sky Bet League One. Andy, just looking back at the highlights there and the Bristol Rovers goal, Phil Parkinson clearly wasn't happy with it defensively. What could have been better?
Well, I think that sort of one of the players in that mix of bodies has just lost a hold of his man, really, and we always have one on the edge of the 6-yard box that normally goes and attacks it, but because the trajectory of the ball is so low, he's unable to go and get ahead of the man that heads the ball. You could always say, do we have a man on the back post, do we have a man on the front post, those types of things. Every manager has their preferred options, if you like, and we've gone with neither on either. And obviously it just goes underneath Arthur at the far post and no chance really, but just got to get a hold of your man, lock on, and don't let them run where they want to.
Clearly, Mia, only 1 goal scored on Friday, but the lack of chances was perhaps an even bigger issue. What do you think the key aspects are that Wrexham have got to do differently today so they're creating more?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what Phil Parkinson said in the post-match about taking the handbrake off. We might use that phrase a bit more today probably, but it's about being braver. We need to make sure that, like Andy's pointed out, Rodriguez is a bit higher up. Can Ollie Rathbone push forward a bit more like he was earlier on in the season? I feel like that's something he's regressed a little bit, which again not really sure why, because our defence has been so solid. Someone like Matty James in front, it should give him that licence to be able to be that box-to-box midfielder that we know he is.
And he was scoring as well, Mia, wasn't he? He's got 7 goals this season, and they've dried up, haven't they?
Yeah, and I think that is because he's just not getting forward as much. I'd love to see the sort of heat maps in terms of from in the last few games in comparison to earlier on, so I think that would be a really interesting one to see. But no, I think we are missing someone like maybe Andy Cannon, who at the time we thought that was obviously a big impact injury, but I think now we're sort of looking at it going, he'd be someone who would come in and be that difference. So it's probably a conversation for the summer. Is that an area of the pitch we need to focus on it and bring someone in? But right now we've got to solve it. So, use the players in front of us to solve that. So hopefully they can do that today.
I just think from the goal you can see the change in positions for Matty James. It's Elliot Lee goes out to get the ball at feet. He then drops a bit deeper to get the ball, which allows Matty James then to go into the box free when the cross comes in. That type of rotation and movement is harder to mark, and he gets the time, the space, and then the really good finish.
Certainly a blueprint to think about for today. Well, clearly we've got a member of our Matchday Live panel who played for both these clubs in action, but we thought we'd get a perspective from someone else who also wore tangerine and red. This player started his career early in the 1990s, but when I started my discussion with Andy Preece, it was clear that initially when he arrived at the racecourse ground, he faced a fair amount of imposter syndrome.
Well, I can remember going, travelling up. I travelled up on the train, walking up, walking through and down the lane, and turning left into the ground, and I think that probably was a problem for me going into Wrexham. Is that I couldn't believe what was happening. I probably felt that I wasn't good enough. I had to, I was only on trial. So I had to prove myself, but I just felt I always had that doubt at Wrexham. And I never really got that run of confidence. It might have been 2 or 3 games where I did okay, but and then those doubts. As soon as I stopped scoring, the doubts were there. But it was such a great time for me, and such a great learning experience, and working with Brian Flynn, Joey Jones, Kevin Reeves, those all internationals, was a fantastic experience for me. And there were some real high points. Even that season, we were in trouble of getting relegated. I think it might have gone down to the last 2 or 3 games for us to stay up. So and I had a small part to play in that. I remember scoring my first goal at Grimsby away. We lost the game 5-1. I think Joey broke his leg in that game. But to get that first league goal again, I just can't believe I've scored in the Football League. And I think that was probably the issue with me, is just that I always had that self doubt. I scored a couple of goals at Halifax. I think one was an overhead kick, but still I couldn't just quite make that move or play with that consistency to be a starter week in, week out. But some really good memories and some interesting ones. I was getting a bit of stick from the paddock, and it was an auto windscreen game against Mansfield, and I've scored from 35 yards, an absolute screamer. It's just probably the best goal I've ever scored. I've run off and stood on the paddock with my arms out and saying, "I can't hear you now." Turn around and the game's going on. The ref had disallowed it. So back then, if you stood on an offside position, you were offside. Someone must have been stood in offside position, so it's disallowed. So I had to eat a little bit of humble pie on that occasion. But it was a great ground. I loved it. I met my wife in Wrexham. She's a Wrexham girl, so it's had a massive impact on my life playing at Wrexham.
And despite your own observations about your confidence level, Andy, you did enough at Wrexham to get a move to Stockport County, and that's when your career really kicked on in a prolific strike partnership with Big Kevin Francis. at Edgeley Park, and that got you the move to the Premier League with Crystal Palace and the chance to play alongside another former Wrexham man, Chris Armstrong. Tell us about that era.
Yeah, well, when I signed for Wrexham, Chris had signed from Clyde Welfare. So we both sort of come from non-league, similar sort of backgrounds. So we hit it off straight away. So I was buzzing for him when he got his move to Millwall, and he was doing really, really well. Like you say, I moved to Stockport off the back of, I scored a goal in a reserve game, Wrexham versus Stockport, and Danny Bagara saw something in me that probably I didn't think. But obviously Brian Flynn had seen it in me, but for some reason it just didn't happen. So yeah, then I went on to Stockport, and it is that confidence thing. My first start I scored, and then I scored again in the next game, and then that to the end of that season I'd scored 13 goals in 25 games. And I do remember when Stockport came into me from Wrexham, I had to look to see where Stockport were in the table. So I'm looking at League Two and I can't find them, and I'm thinking, where are they? And I've looked at League One and they're like in the top 7. I'm thinking, why are they signing me and paying a fee for me? To go there and start as well as I did, I think that really then give me that confidence that I can play at this level.
Your days at Palace gave you those Premier League opportunities. You scored at the top level, and then you moved on a couple of years later to Blackpool, today's opposition for Wrexham, and had 3 years up on the Fylde coast, signing for £200,000 in July '95. What stand out as your main memories in Tangerine, Andy?
Well, Big Sam signed me. Going there
nice.
it was interesting with Owen Oyston. Even signing was an interesting conversation, and I remember it was they had some real weird ways of wanting to pay money and stuff like that, and I couldn't get my head around it, and I wouldn't sign at that point. And there was no mobile phones at that point. And I stayed overnight. We sorted out in the morning. I went back to London, and on the answer machine was a message from Barry Fry saying, that he wanted to sign me, and it was at Birmingham. And I'd already signed for Blackpool, but it was interesting that Kevin Francis had signed for Birmingham. So, there could have been a reuniting with that. So, how things could have been so different if I had a mobile phone. You just don't know what might have happened. But I'm still living in Blackpool. I love living in Blackpool. I had a great time. I had some ups and downs at Blackpool, no doubt, but more ups and downs. And I think I've got a lot to thank the Blackpool fans for, because in one of those down times I was playing in the reserves. And was getting racially abused off the terrace. There wasn't many fans there. There was about 40 fans there, but this guy was just constantly on at me. And at the end of the game, I jumped into the crowd, and it was, it wasn't long, after the Cantona incident. So I got in serious trouble. But the fans all wrote letters to the FA and saying how disgusting the behaviour was, and I was getting racially abused. And fortunately, I got a fine, but I didn't get a ban. So luckily, I could carry on playing for Blackpool, and at the end of that season, I had a real good run again, a really good run at the end of the season under Gary Megson, and picked up some Player of the Year awards in the following season. Captained the team, so I've got real fond memories. And it's nice sometimes. I see fans, talking. It's walking in the street, and that they always talk fondly. So there's a lot of fond memories of both clubs, and they've had both a real impact on my life and on my career.
And just finally, Andy, if we were to pick out one match in your non-league managerial career, I'm guessing it might be a certain FA Cup tie a few seasons ago. Tell us about that, and who was in the opposition dugout that day?
I don't really want to remind you about this, but Phil Parkinson was the manager at Charlton. Phil Will was managing Charlton. They were flying at the time, top of League One. I was at Northwich. We were in the National League North. Live on TV. John Joe Shelby was just coming through then, played in the game, and we managed to beat them 1-0. You know, it was an unbelievable day. You know, one of those pinch yourself moments, and for it to be live on TV as well. So yeah, and I don't think it's one Phil will remember fondly, but it was an amazing occasion, and you know, the love of the FA Cup. You know, it's such a great competition that you can have these shocks, and obviously there's that little link that's probably made you smile today. You know, with the manager who's doing so well at Wrexham at the minute. You know, he's doing an unbelievable job. You know, it's such a fantastic job that he's done, and fingers crossed, you know, could be having another promotion.
Former Blackpool and Wrexham centre forward Andy Preece giving me his recollections a little bit earlier this week, including putting one over Phil Parkinson in his managerial days. Andy, I thought it was interesting at the start of that interview, Andy Preece really talking about not feeling confident that he had the ability when he first came to Wrexham, having come through non-league football, and also, I know, having fought quite a lot of bad illness before he got that chance at Wrexham. You came in from non-league football, of course, before getting your chance. Was that something that you experienced a bit too?
Well, I can completely relate to that, because it was absolutely how I felt when I first came in. Absolutely the fear of not being good enough, not being able to take this opportunity that you were given. Felt it, and it's a horrible feeling, but at some point you have to just try and shake that off and get on with it and go, well, it is the only opportunity I might ever get to go. And I had it the same again when I signed for Coventry City. I was up, and you know, you go in there and Steve Staunton and Gary McAllister, Richard Shaw, you know, people like that are in the changing rooms. You're like, these are people I've watched on Match of the Day for pretty much the majority of my life, and now I'm sat next to them trying to train with them, and it's you know, it just plays a lot of things with your mind, a lot of tricks with your mind, but this is so important in football. And you know, a lot of players have ability but haven't got it upstairs, and I think if you get that right, you can pretty much do anything you want.
And Andy Preece, clearly as a manager, Mir, has done very well, virtually exclusively in non-league football. I think he's just gone past 850 matches, currently managing Chorley in National League North, competing for a playoff place this year. We wish him well with that. But to have such a long career in the non-league game, what does that tell us about Andy as a person, to be able to operate successfully at that level?
I think it shows a lot. I think obviously at non-league, sometimes your opportunities are restricted a little bit, and maybe as a manager you have to do a bit more and have a few more fingers and a few more pies, if you like. So I think that shows for him. He's obviously got a lot of skills and talent at his disposal, and obviously to be in that league for that long, you know, over 850 games, that shows his longevity and how successful he has been. And that's not easy, especially as a former player. I mean, how many times have we seen it in recent times where you look at sort of former players coming out of the game and sort of just expecting to be brilliant at what they do, and it doesn't always happen like that. So I think for him to do it at that level is a brilliant achievement.
As you can see on our countdown clock, less than 5 minutes to kick off here at Bloomfield Road. Let's have a quick look at the head-to-head records between these two sides as the two sets of fans start to become acquainted with each other this afternoon. You might pick that up in our microphones. So Wrexham have got it all to do. Looking at that stat, Blackpool with 21 wins, 11 drawn, just 6 Wrexham wins, including that one on Boxing Day. Let's hope that figure moves to 7 by around about 5 o'clock tonight. Okay, if you've not yet sorted your iFollow pass this afternoon, well, I think by this time in the season you probably know what to do, and that's to head to wrexhamafc.co.uk/live. Follow the links there for both the audio and video options. Mia Roberts and Andy Morell will move from being alongside me to join Mark Griffiths on co-commentary. But don't worry, they'll be back here, same link at half-time, as we review the first half, and we do it all again at the end of proceedings. Here we go then, 3 matches from home. Could this be a glorious step on Wrexham's road to promotion, or is this to prove to be a tricky trip to the seaside? We'll see you back here at half-time. Welcome back to Match Day Live. Half-time here at Bloomfield Road. It is Blackpool 0, Wrexham 0. A very bright opening 30 minutes from the visitors, where they asked plenty of questions of the Blackpool defence and had some good opportunities. The home side coming back into it in the last quarter of an hour of that first half. But overall, a decent Wrexham showing. The only disappointment that it's still a 0 on the scoreboard. Two particular chances of note for the visitors. James McLean in the 23rd minute, a very nice interchange with Sam Smith around the edge of the penalty area. McLean then surging into the box, taking the ball on his right foot. Probably should have scored. It was an excellent save though from Harry Tyra to deny him. And Tyra wasn't done, because 7 minutes later George Jobson played in Jay Rodriguez. Rodriguez had to take the shot early, but it was a good chance. Tyra again denying him. Dobson also had a shot a few minutes after that was perhaps the least likely of the three opportunities. It was from distance. Again, Tyra impressing. He's on loan from Everton, the 23-year-old. He looks like a keeper to watch. At the other end, Arthur Okonkwo had little to do for the first half an hour, but then he did have to tip over a Rob Apter shot as Blackpool started to come back into it in the latter stages of the first half. But overall, Wrexham have played with a good tempo, certainly got on the front foot early and pushed Blackpool back, as I mentioned, particularly in the opening half hour. Mia Roberts and Andy Morell have been on co-commentary with Mark Griffiths. Andy, what did you make of it?
Well, I just think they've been so much better, so much more intent about going forward, tempo to their play, getting at people, getting second balls, all that thing that you talk about in the changing rooms before every game, they've certainly brought. And it was it's been a brilliant game so far. The first half was a really good watch, and it went really quickly. So that tells you that there's something going on the pitch that's good. And we had the majority of it. When you're on top, you have to score, and we haven't managed to do that just yet. We've had the two best chances by a mile. I think McLean's done pretty much everything right. His first touch was great that he took extra, and then he's just pulled it to the side and the keeper's gambled and he's guessed right. And then with Rodriguez, his first touch again is magnificent, and maybe could he just dink and leave it, chip it over the keeper, but the keeper does make himself big. His starting position's brilliant and makes a good save, but Wrexham are well worthy, better team for me in that first half. Can they now take it on and do the same in the second half?
Mia? Yeah, I think it's the first time in a while we're sort of stood here thinking we deserve to maybe be 1 or 2 up, and don't think we could have said that maybe in the last few games. So that shows how positive they've been, and it was literally from minute 1, which I think is so impressive, that they've really come out here and really gone for it, which is what everyone's been crying for, particularly in those last 2 matches. So I think Phil Parkinson will be delighted at half time, but we'll know full well that this is a Blackpool side that at times this season haven't necessarily played that well in first halves, have scored the majority of their goals in the second half, so are a team that normally come out and do very well, so they need to be expectant of that. And it makes for a really interesting second half, particularly with obviously the result going potentially our way at Wycombe as well. Not that we should be focusing on that, only focusing on ourselves, of course, but there's a real opportunity here for us to get back up that league today.
Yes, Mia mentions latest score, and we'll confirm all the half times in League One in just a moment, but the latest score at Adams Park, just as we were coming on air, Wycombe 0, Charlton Athletic 2. So that's great news from a Wrexham perspective. It does make things very congested in the battle for second place. But if it stays that way and Wrexham even get a point here, it will put Wrexham on level points with Wycombe Wanderers with 2 games to go. We'll review the attacking stats in a moment from the first half, but let's have a look at all the scores from around the division first of all, just to get the full picture of League One this afternoon. As we said, there was a key match going on down in Buckinghamshire between Wycombe and Charlton. That does bring Charlton very much into the second place conversation. They of course are Wrexham's next opposition next Wednesday, but still the result that Wrexham would want at the moment at Adams Park. Let's have a look around the division. Barnsley drawing with Peterborough at the interval. Bristol Rovers losing at home to Stevenage. Burton trailing Birmingham by 2-0. So both those sides trying to stay out of the bottom 4 are losing at home. Cambridge beating Orient by 1-0, still surviving as it stands. Crawley Town 3-1 up at half-time. That's a position they've not been in too often this season. Lots of goals at Sincil Bank between Lincoln and Bolton, 4 of them being shared at the moment. Reading continuing their push for a playoff place with the lead at Field Mill against Mansfield. Northampton leading beleaguered and relegated Shrewsbury by 2-0, all square at Stockport. And Wigan beating Rotherham by 1-0. 45 minutes to go, of course, in all those games. But Andy, that would certainly make things interesting if Charlton hold on to that lead at Wycombe.
Yeah, it would. It brings Charlton right back in with us playing them on Saturday as well. I'm not sure if it's a good result or not.
I think at this point it has to be yes.
I goal agree. Difference as well. I think
that's right.
That's something that could be absolutely huge. I think there's 5 in it before a ball was kicked today, and
possibly
that obviously brings it down. But I mean, you wouldn't like to predict.
No, well, Leighton Orient getting beat, Reading winning for that 6th spot in there as well. It's so tight. Let's not look at them till the end.
Yeah, I think let's review it all at full time. Let's have a look from the statistics of the first half in this game. Here on the Fylde coast, where the rain at least relented for the game. We had plenty of rain before proceedings today, but the conditions have been good in the opening half, and Wrexham, well, perhaps surprisingly, are trailing in possession. It did seem that Wrexham had the bulk of the ball, certainly, and of territory in the first half an hour, but Blackpool edging possession, 4 shots to 6, although Arthur Okonkwo has only had to deal with 1 on target, I think. 2 clear-cut chances, those for McLean and Rodriguez for Wrexham. The successful crosses have been at a premium, and Blackpool forcing those 5 corners. Mia?
Yeah, I think that's a successful crosses one is, like you say, one to pick out really, especially with the joy we've had from James McLean and Ryan Longman in that first half. If we can get that ball into them, and if they can get that cross right, then we're in with a chance of getting a real opportunity from that. But I think part of that isn't just their crossing ability, it's that movement in the box as well. Andy touched on it on comms. We've got to make sure that there's a bit of fluidity and a bit more movement in there. I think too many times we're a bit too predictable, sort of Sam Smith, Jay Rodriguez sometimes on that same line. You need to obviously make sure that the wing backs are getting into that back post area. That's something we've been really effective from this season, particularly earlier on with when Ryan Barnett was in that real form, and it just felt that ball was always landing to James McLean at that back post. So I think that's a real area that they'll be looking at, thinking we've caused problems from there, we need to push their fullbacks back as well. I think Coulson's looked quite exciting when he's gone forward for Blackpool, but we need to make him defend.
Yeah, I agree. I think that last 15 minutes when Blackpool started to come into it, they had a few corners, etc. We just stopped picking up those second balls and then able to get Longman on the ball going 1v1. I think he's been electric in that first half an hour, and the more we get him on the ball, the more exciting, the more chances he creates. And like Mia says, I just think the movement in there from the 2 strikers, McLean, and then the 1 midfielder that goes in, they just have to move them around a little bit more to create a little bit of chaos in there to maybe free up. It's like an unselfish run you need to do right across the front post, drags one of the centre halves right out from that middle space where he wants to stay, and it just might create something behind it. You might get it and might be able to flick it into that far post, but if you don't, it just creates a bit of mayhem behind you, and I just think we're a little bit static when the crosses are coming in.
What have you made of Sam Smith's performance in the first half, Andy?
Well, I've liked it because he's always looking to go in behind, which is what we've said all along that he's good at, and he runs those channels really well and early as well. We just need Arthur's kicking to be a little bit crisper, but the one pitch I really liked was we got a free kick, Matty James puts his hand on it and plays it straight away in behind for Smith to go and run to, and you're off and running. They're not set, the back four's not set, they're facing the ball and they're turning around facing their own goal, etc. That's what we've got to do more of, just play at that higher tempo.
And your desire pre-match was to see Jay Rodriguez playing as an out-and-out striker alongside Sam Smith. I thought in the first 15 minutes that appeared to be the case, but as the half's gone on, he seems to have drifted deeper. Did you see it the same way?
Yeah, a little bit, and I think he's going too early to go and make that 4th midfielder up, and which means he's stood just right on the back of the 2 midfielders that Blackpool have got, rather than dragging when the ball gets a chance, one of the players gets a chance to play him in, he comes off the back 2 centre halves to create that space in front of him, and he uses that space in front of him. He's coming in there already, which means the midfielders can sort of nibble around him, and the 2 centre halves can just stay in their slots and defend Smith on his own, and we need to move those 2, so the timing of those runs into that pocket are so key, because then you can get to the little relationships around the edge of the box with Smith.
Let's have a look at the defensive statistics from the first half and get Mia's take on how these have shaped up. So Wrexham having won more tackles, but Blackpool with more interceptions, more clearances, headed clearances pretty much the same, and Wrexham edging it in terms of aerial duels. Mia, I suppose the 6 interceptions from a Blackpool perspective, is that a sign of misplaced passes, or Wrexham just trying to move the ball more quickly and perhaps running a higher risk game of getting intercepted and picked off?
Yeah, I think Wrexham have had a few moments where maybe just that wrong decision's been made, a bit of a lack of communication at times, but like you say, that will come as we play with a higher intensity, and those are the risks you've got to take, because you open up that chance of that higher reward. So I think that's something we've got to just take and accept. But I think defensively, I think we've been really strong in that first half. You wouldn't really notice that Dan Scar's come in, hasn't played many. I think that's a massive credit to him, that you wouldn't really be able to tell. I think he's done really well. Lewis Brunt, a few moments of real quality on that left-hand side where he's just been able to beat his man. Like we say, you've got to be brave on the ball at times as a defender. If that pass isn't on, rather than just sort of do one over the top, sort of a hit and hope, he's been really good on the ball at times, and that's really helped us be progressive and go forward more.
I look at that and I just think, if you've watched the game, no block crosses, that means that Longman and McLean, when we've had them on the ball and they've looked to go past, they've got past them and they've got balls into the box, keep getting the ball out to them, keep getting out to Longman constantly. He's got the better of Coulson going forwards, in my opinion. Get it past him and then get that movement right, and you'll create chances.
Mia, can I just ask you about Arthur Okonkwo's kicking?
Yeah.
Oh, don't.
I saw at least 3 occasions in that first half where he put the ball straight out for a throw-in. Do you think this is something that's kind of got a bit worse in his game, or is this just something he still needs to work on?
I think, listen, that's never been one of his qualities, his distribution or kicking. We know that, but because of the quality that he has in terms of shot stopping and everything else, you sort of forget about it and just think of it as something that he needs to work on, and it is, and he knows that. But I think it's a confidence thing as well. I think it's something I picked up on in terms of atmosphere at the racecourse in the last few games. The crowd have started getting on his back a little bit. It's frustrating, especially when you're chasing an important game, and we're in the position we're in right now, chasing promotion. The fans are always going to be anxious, but as a player, that's the worst thing that can happen. It'll get in your head more and more. I think we've seen that, today definitely in play. But hopefully, we just need someone to have a word in his ear and just say, relax, you are good enough. We've seen a few that he's gotten right, so he can do it. But yeah, he's just got to get that head sorted.
I think he's trying to be too precise. He's trying to hit McLean bang on, and you don't want it at you as a striker or a centre or a wide one. You want it put in the space so you can take a few steps and go off one foot and go and attack the ball, rather than it being played at you and you're sort of pinned in. It's just trying to be too accurate. So just leave it in there. You let the strikers go and win it for you.
Andy, Mia, thank you very much. I can see the players are emerging. You can probably see them too over our shoulders. Right, 45 minutes ahead. Could be defining for Wrexham's season. Can they emerge from their trip to Blackpool with a win? We will know. Please join us when we return for our full-time analysis here on YouTube at the same link in around about 50 minutes' time. It's Blackpool 0, Wrexham 0. We'll see you then. Goodbye. Town away. Aha, aha, I like it. Full time here at Bloomfield Road. It's finished. Blackpool 0, Wrexham 2. And with Charlton thumping Wycombe Wanderers by 4 goals to 0, it's back in Wrexham's hands again as they pursue second place and automatic promotion to the Championship. This was pretty much a faultless display from Wrexham, where only a last gasp goal from Rob Apter kept the clean sheet from being achieved. Wrexham winning this game by 2 goals to 1 in the end. In truth, they were home and hosed by the time Apter scored right at the death, thanks to James McLean cutting in from the right and drilling a left-foot shot in past Harry Tyra, and Ollie Rathbone then doubling the lead 2 minutes later after a neat layoff from Jay Rodriguez. Wrexham got on the front foot early in the second half and didn't give Blackpool a sniff. This was a dominant second half display from Phil Parkinson's side, who have now given themselves every opportunity again of ensuring second position in the table. They will go into the penultimate round of matches, 2 points clear of Wycombe Wanderers. And guess who's next coming to the racecourse? Yes, Charlton Athletic, who are still very much in the mix too. Andy Morell and Mia Roberts have been on co-coms for what has been an incredible afternoon at Bloomfield Road. Mia, summarise it for us.
I don't know if I've still got my voice, to be honest. I feel a bit hoarse, but no, wow. I think that's got to be up there, hasn't it, in terms of performances of the season. I thought every single player in a Wrexham shirt today was exceptional. Really, really good. I thought that midfield three were superb.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I thought they were absolutely outstanding, probably the best midfield performance we've seen so far this season. And they looked like they wanted it today. I was a bit worried in the last few games that obviously we want to go up, but how much do you want it? Do you want it more than Wycombe? Do you want it more than Charlton? Well, today I think we did, and it's so impressive. But you know, now we're back in that second, but nothing's done yet. We've still got 2 games to go. We've got to just continue that, and if we do continue to play like that, I think we'll be just fine.
Andy?
Yeah, I just felt that we had players that affected the game in the final third, which we've not had for a couple of weeks now. You know, we had people running, people getting at them, real intensity and tempo to the game. Like you said in the intro there, a pretty faultless performance. We had 15 minutes before half time where, yeah, we weren't in control, but we were still fairly comfortable with it. But yeah, absolutely faultless. I thought Dan Scarr was insanely good at the backs, coming in from, you know, we spoke about him in the pre-game amble, and he would come in and headed everything when Fletcher's a real handful up the top end of the pitch. I thought he did brilliant. Dobson coming in, a freshness to that midfield, and then Rathbone, he covered every piece of grass and got the goal probably that won it for us.
We mentioned at half-time that in the first half, the opening 30 minutes, Wrexham had really been on the front foot, hadn't got the goals as the reward, and then the second 15 minutes of the first half, or the final 15 minutes, Blackpool had come back into it more. I think it was really important at the start of the second half that Wrexham got on the front foot straight away, but they absolutely did that from the first whistle, Mia, and this time the dividends did come.
Yeah, they did, and I think that'll be a game that Steve Bruce will probably look at and go, well, I'm not sure we could have done much more against that Wrexham side, because they just gave it absolutely everything, and the intensity was just top from start to finish. You know, to control a game, you don't necessarily have to be on the ball constantly. That's not necessarily what it means, but I thought even out of possession, just how harried we sort of made Blackpool sort of rush into passes at times, and then obviously we got joy on little counter-attacks here and there as well, but just on the ball as well. I thought we were just a different level of class today. Ollie Rathbone, even at the back on the ball, people like Lewis Brunt were absolutely brilliant, just winning second balls, 50-50s all over the pitch. It was just man for a man, a brilliant performance that has given those fans over there a lot to cheer about.
Well, if it had been 5, I don't think Steve Bruce would have had any complaints really. We had a great chance in the second half from McLean back post, and you just think, oh, it's not going to be one of those days again.
Header
is
early
it?
on.
Yeah, header. It just heads it rather than head it down, just puts it straight back where it came from. But then the opportunity comes, he cuts in on his left foot, doesn't he? And I think it's a cross shot, you just hit it and hope to get it across the keeper. Whether Sam Smith gets a touch or not, I think they'll be having arguments in that changing room, whether who got it, but that was the release, wasn't it? And you could see the confidence go in all the lads from there on, and it never looked like they were going to lose it from that point on.
Phil had spoken pre-match to us and post-match after the draw against Bristol Rovers on Friday, Mia, about wanting the team to enjoy it more, to play with more freedom. But as we said in the pre-match, those are laudable things to say, and perhaps in some senses easy things to say, but to do it when the pressure's gone up a level and supporters clearly on social media are getting ever more agitated, concerned, and there was almost thought saying, I think it's the playoffs now, to come out and find a performance like that against a team who, let's not forget, have won 6 of their last 8 matches, Blackpool were barely in it apart from that 15-minute period before half-time when Apter had a good chance, and Apter scored right at the death, but for the rest of the second half, Arthur's been largely a spectator.
Yeah, and I think that's where you've got to give massive credit to those players, because that wasn't an easy thing to do today, to come out and put in that performance, not by any stretch of the word. So I think they deserve massive credit, but they're not going to get that full credit unless they back it up on Saturday and then the week after that as well. And that's what now they've got to put the hard yards in this week to make sure they're fully prepared for Charlton, because that's going to be, that sets itself up now to be an unbelievably big game, obviously with Wycombe being the 12:30 as well, so we'll know their fate ahead of that. It's absolutely huge, but I think those players today have done themselves no harm whatsoever. They were absolutely brilliant, and yeah, I think Phil Parkinson will be delighted. I'm really happy we have got that win. I think for once he'll come over here and probably be delighted. I'm not sure he'll give too much away, obviously, but I think he'll be super happy with what his players have done today.
Andy?
Yeah, I think the trust that Phil Parkinson's shown in pretty much the 13, isn't it, that seem to be the ones that are in the shirt, the 11 and the 2 subs. It's Barnett, or it seems to be Lee, or Fletcher. Those 3, say maybe 14. Those 14, and people are crying out for changes because we've drawn with Bristol at home and stuff. And that trust that he shows in that group of players, that smaller group of players, that I believe that you've got it, what it takes to get us over the line. That instills huge confidence in you as a player, for one, and as a group in another. And yes, they had a little bit of a setback on Friday, but to bounce back like they did today, and the way that they did and the way that they played, they've not just snuck today, they've absolutely smashed it.
Well, let's have a look at all the results around the division, because Charlton Athletic winning at Wycombe Wanderers have certainly done Wrexham a big favour, but the double edge to that sword is that Charlton are coming to the Stoke Kairas, as Andy mentioned, on Saturday. That's a 5:30 kickoff. Wycombe are playing at 12:30, which means that if they draw or lose the Wanderers, then Wrexham will know that a win against Charlton guarantees promotion, and it won't go down to the final round of matches and Wrexham's trip to Lincoln. So will it be that Wrexham will run out at 5:30 on Saturday, knowing that a win takes them up? We shall see. Let's check in on today's scores then. Barnsley all square with Peterborough United, 2 teams with little to play for at the moment. We know all about match number 2 on that list. Bristol Rovers losing at home to Stevenage. That's a blow for Inigo Calderon's side, but Burton have lost as well against Birmingham City, so that keeps things as you were between those 2 sides, scrapping to avoid the 4th relegation place. Leyton Orient win at Cambridge, so they're still very much in the conversation for 6th with Reading. Crawley Town beating Exeter by 3-1. Lincoln ending Bolton's playoff dreams with a 4-2 win at Sincil Bank. Reading thumping Mansfield Town at Field Mill by 5-1. They're going all out to try and get 6th spot and keep Leyton Orient out of it. Northampton secure their place in this division for another season with a 4-1 win over Shrewsbury. Stockport beat Huddersfield by 2-1. Stockport still mathematically can finish second. That does for Huddersfield's hopes. It's been a poor season for the men from South Yorkshire. They will be playing League One football next season for sure. Wigan beat Rotherham by 1-0 in the mid-table battle there, and at the bottom the result of the day, those goals from Lloyd Jones, Luke Berry, Matt Godden and Keyroy Anderson, meaning Charlton thump Wycombe by 4-0. Not only is that a win that Wrexham hoped for, but a goal difference bashing for the Chairboys, should that come into things. Right, let's get to the table. What does all that mean at the top and at the bottom of the League One table? With 2 rounds to go for most teams, 1 or 2 clubs do have a game in hand here or there. But for the teams of interest to us at the top from a Wrexham perspective, it's 2 games left. And isn't that good to see in second place? Wrexham, with 86 from 44 games, have a 2-point lead and level on goals with Wycombe Wanderers. Then there's Charlton on 82. They can still get 88 points if they come to Wrexham and win on Saturday and win their final game. Stockport can still get 87 if they win their last 2, so they're not out of it mathematically either. Leyton Orient and Reading will joust for the final playoff spot. And that will be the team that whoever finishes third will face in their semi-final in the playoffs. Bolton downwards are all out of it in terms of hopes of the playoffs. Let's have a look at the bottom of the table. No substantive change between Burton Albion and Bristol Rovers as they try and stay in the division for another season. Both losing today, so Burton's game in hand still gives them the advantage there with that minus 16 goal difference also going in the favour of Gary Bowyer's side. Peterborough United are safe there on 50 points. And Crawley, well, they're still just about in there fighting. Cambridge United mathematically too can still do it. We knew before today that Shrewsbury Town were down. Well, what a game we do have ahead to us on Saturday, Mia. Charlton Athletic in absolutely red-hot form. People were saying to me it's got this kind of Boreham Wood vibe to it. You know, it's the early evening kick-off. It's a similar kind of context. But the team that they're facing couldn't be tougher. I mean, in effect, it's almost a championship game, perhaps a year early with the standard that Charlton are playing at the moment.
No, 100%. And, I mean, that 4-0 win today, I think they had a man sent off as well, but that they won't care about that.
Right at the end, the sending off,
But huge statement. I mean, you know, we were quite pessimistic in the last two games, you know, saying how those points for Wrexham, the draws, could be a massive point, and I think some people thinking, you know, you needed to win them, but now you look at results like that for Wycombe where they've lost games, and you go, well, no, actually those points were really big and could prove, you know, ultimately decisive as we go into the last few weeks. So, you know, not only from a points perspective, but Wycombe getting smashed like that, I mean, what that does to your mentality as well. I mean, I wouldn't like to be in that dressing room right now. I imagine it's probably one of the worst places to be at the moment for them, and you know where that puts them in that headspace, obviously playing that early kick-off as well on Saturday. But for Charlton, I mean, you know, their vibes will be right up if you think about it like that. And I mean, Nathan Jones, he'll be excited, I'm sure, to come to the racecourse on Saturday, and they'll be right up for it. And you know, it's just another huge game that, I mean, again, you wouldn't like to predict it, would you?
And Wycombe have got Leyton Orient on Saturday, Andy, who are going hard at it against Reading. You wouldn't want, again, from a Wrexham perspective, a better opposition pretty much for Wycombe to have lying in wait next.
Yeah, well, these games, we said it that, you know, if you drop a point, you drop 2 points, teams are going to drop points at this time of year. It's whether you can keep your mettle. And if we'd have won at Bristol and got a point here, is that a better return? It doesn't really matter how you get them. You just need to get them somehow. But like you said, Charlton have come from nowhere, haven't they, really? There's no pressure on them. They weren't going to even get in the playoffs at one point, but then, bang, they've gone on this crazy run of form. They've found a formula. The manager's got them going, and he is a good manager, by the way, and he's just brought them through. And they will be saying, well, we can do it. We can get that second spot if we keep going, because if we win those two, the confidence will be oozing through the team, and you could win it. You never know what might happen, and they've got a chance. And even if they don't get nipped that second spot, they're still going in really good form, aren't they, into the playoffs?
And also from a points perspective, Mia, if Wrexham finish win-draw, then Wycombe have still got to finish win-win to take it to goal difference. So although the hope, of course, is for a Wrexham double win and potentially for a Wycombe loss on Saturday, even if Wycombe win both games, Wrexham can afford to drop to a draw in one of them, potentially, and still squeeze up on goal difference. And maybe that was part of the reason. I know that it gets a little bit more complicated, but it's just 2 points is a much nicer margin than one, was where I was trying to get to with the aspect of the draw coming in the mix. But clearly, look, I mean, if Leyton Orient can do Wrexham a big favour lunchtime next Saturday, it could all come down to an epic night at the racecourse.
Yeah, I think whatever happens in that 12:30 game, it's going to be loud and it's going to be a hostile place to go for Charlton anyway, you'd like to think. And yeah, it's going to be one of the biggest games at that ground in a good few years. I think it's absolutely huge, and obviously later on at night, does that add to that atmosphere as well? Some could say it does. So you know, super excited for it, but yeah, it just tees itself up, doesn't it? I mean, we never do it the easy way. Obviously, welcome to Wrexham, we'll absolutely be loving this, I'm sure. But no, it'll be some end to the season. Hopefully, it just does go our way.
If we play like we did today, we are a match for any team in this league, regardless of who you are or where you are in the league. So, I think that will be the statement from Phil Parkinson to his group. Is like, that is the standards we set for ourselves. That is what we do, and that's why we're in the position that we're in. We have to do that again for 2 games. 2 games we do that. If we play like that, 2 games we're promoted, and it's as simple as that.
Difficult to see Dan Scarr being dislodged by Owen O'Connell, even if O'Connell's fully fit after that. Be a tough call for Parkinson, won't it?
Yeah, it will. I thought he was exceptional today. Even his range of passing, that we've not seen that much this season from him. came to the fore today. He hit a couple of diags and kept the ball moving quite quick, but he was so strong and so everything was like a magnet when the ball was coming in the box, when it headed him heading it out. So I think Phil Parkinson has shown over his time here that if you go in and you do that well, you will not move out the shirt, because it sends the wrong information, the wrong vibe to the rest of the group if he's going to go and put Owen O'Connell back in. But he's done stranger things as well. I'm not picking it.
And also just on Lewis Brunt, because just to talk about him a little bit, Mia, he had to play second fiddle to Tom O'Connor for a lot of the season. He got in for a bit and then he was out the side again. He's now got in and had a regular run. You picked him out today, and I think from a consistency perspective, he has really been up there, hasn't he, in recent weeks. But today, perhaps his best performance in the shirt?
I think so, and I think he's had real tough moments as well this season. I think he's given away a few penalties and sort of cost us a few points at times through those decisions, and that's not easy, particularly for a guy who's very young still. I think he's only 22, is he? I think just at that age, so still super inexperienced. I know he had that brilliant season at Mansfield, but for a guy to come in ahead of someone like Tom O'Connor, super experienced, and get the shirt ahead of him and do what he's doing in a Wrexham shirt, it's absolutely fantastic. And like we say, if he can continue that, going into Charlton and Lincoln now, I mean, he's got a real good chance of being up there in terms of player of the season and things like that. But also going forward a bit, long term, I think he's got a real bright future here at this club as well.
Front foot for me, when he plays on the front foot and is aggressive in going and winning the ball, going and tackling and going into, I think that's when he plays his best football, not when he's a little bit dithers and just steps back a little bit. So get on the front foot like he did and take the ball and charge through when he steps in. He's brilliant stepping in. I thought he did exceptionally well today.
Andy, thank you very much for now. Phil is coming in to join us. Thank you very much, Phil, for coming across and making your way across the ground to join us in the East Stand. Well, many congratulations. You must be delighted with that performance.
Yeah, it's a very accomplished performance from us today. They're a good side, Blackpool. Got some excellent players. And I thought the detail of our approach and the implementation of that was outstanding today. Not just without the ball, because the game's about both sides, but with the ball in the areas we felt we could hurt them, and we put into practice what we'd worked on and spoke about leading into this game. Really strong performance from us, and we move on.
You came out with a real intent, I thought, for the first half an hour of the first half, and then just the same at the start of the second half. Was that something that you'd particularly drilled into the players that you wanted to see?
Well, we spoke about that during the week, about, like I said, just taking the handbrake off and playing with no fear. We've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, and we played with that freedom today. I thought first half we were really good, had two brilliant chances, the keepers made some good saves, but at half time it was just a case of more of the same. I didn't think they'd change it too much, and obviously Brucey, because he had to win today, picked a very open attacking team, and that created space for us, and we exploited that really well today, and the goals came, a brilliant pass from Dobbo to Jimmy, and when we needed it the most, Jimmy's produced a moment of quality, and the second one, great hold-up play from Jay, and a good set, and Ollie, who put in another brilliant performance for us, gets the second, which is always handy.
You created those chances in the first half, Phil. Two excellent saves by Tyra to deny James McLean and then Jay Rodriguez. Were you worried at all at that point that you'd done a lot in the first half to create openings, but you had to go in 0-0?
I just felt, because Steve had to win this game, that even though he could probably feel we were dominating the game, he wasn't going to tighten the game up. So I felt there'd be space for us to get chances, and it turned out that way. So all in all, listen, it's a really good day's work for us. We spoke to the lads this week about the inevitable negativity when we didn't win last week. We didn't kind of get too carried away with that. We're not going to now get too carried away the other way. We're going to come in tomorrow. Everybody's in tomorrow. The lads who played it in a recovery session, the others are going to train and be ready for what will be an amazing atmosphere at the racecourse. And my message to all our supporters is, they unleashed themselves today. I know they responded to the performance, but we need that next week at home. We spoke to the team about no nervousness, there's nothing to lose, and we need that from our supporters. We need the place bouncing next week. Everybody comes in who's got a ticket next week, play your part. Let's make this one hell of an atmosphere and cheer these boys on, because they really deserve it for their efforts so far this season.
Absolutely. What was your first emotion when you saw the result from Wycombe today?
Well, I sensed the score was going against Wycombe, obviously 2/3 in, and then our fans went pretty quiet about it. So, I asked my son George at the end, and he just said 4-0. So, yes, obviously pleased, because like the momentum changes again, and we know what we've got to do, and let's see if we're good enough to do it.
Brilliant. Well, Phil, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you coming and joining us on Matchday Live. Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson giving us his reflections. Obviously delighted with the victory today for his side. They got on the front foot from the start, came close a couple of times in the first half to scoring. And then this man did do that just early in the second half. James McLean, Wrexham captain, great to see you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on Matchday Live. How much did you enjoy that today?
Yeah, look, obviously winning any game of football is really enjoyable. Obviously coming away from home, sun shining, massive away support. Not just that, I thought we played brilliant football today. I thought at times we were very good, which makes the performance even more sweeter.
Phil had spoken to us, James, about taking the handbrake off, playing with more fun, expressing yourselves. I guess they're all good things to hear, but as players, how do you kind of translate that into a performance that lifts to the levels that we saw today?
Yeah, well, yesterday we had Rob came in and had a good chat with us and that, and obviously just saying, like, listen, all the outside noise and that, like, it's good and bad. You got to drain it out, and just obviously just relax and look at the position we're in, and obviously hearing that from one of the owners, and I think it took a bit of pressure off a lot of the lads today, and I think you could see that in our play. But look, we're in a great position, but there's 2 games to go, and talk's cheap. So let's go and hopefully win these next 2 games.
Let's talk through your goal. First of all, a brilliant pass from George Dobson, I thought, with his wrong foot to pick you out like that and put it inch perfect for you. Just talk us through your own mentality as you collected that ball. Had you pretty much decided as it came to your feet, I'm going to go for goal here?
Yeah, I just thought obviously when the ball came back, because the ball came out quick, it gave me time to run at the defender, not from the standing start, and I just thought, well, why not? I've always said for years I was a right winger, and they keep playing me out of position, so hopefully today that showed. But nah, look, I just thought, why not? Like, it's this stage of season, obviously it's about taking risks. No risk, no reward. So that was it really.
You'd come very close in the first half. Excellent save from Harry Tyra. Had that made you ever more determined when you picked the ball up this time to put it in?
Yeah, of course. It was a great save, and fair play to him, credit. And then in the second half too, I had a header which I don't know, like, until I see it back, my first initial thought was I probably got too much a good connection. Until I see it back, I'll maybe see it more clearly. But just thought, it's one of them days. Maybe it's not going to happen. But I just kept plugging away, and like I said, no risk, no reward, and it paid off eventually.
What's the feeling in the dressing room primarily now, Jimmy? Is it joy or is it relief?
No, look, like I said, winning any game of football obviously is joy. There's 2 games to go. Look, it's all today does is put it back in our hand. Like you said, that if you had said that at the start of the season, like, what a great position to be in. And pressure's a great thing, because it means something's expected of you. So let's embrace that pressure. And like I said, let's hopefully go and see the job through now.
Could be an epic night against Charlton on Saturday, and it might be that when you kick off, you know exactly what you've got to do to get promoted.
Yeah, well, hopefully that's the case. Hopefully, before kick-off, we know if we won, that's the job done. Obviously, that'll be a great motivation. Not that we need any motivation, given how big the game is anyway, but it would obviously add that extra bit of motivation. Hopefully that's the case.
36 tomorrow, I understand.
36 tomorrow, yeah.
Perfect present for you today?
It was. I was due a goal, so nice birthday present, and tomorrow go on, recover, get back home, enjoy the birthday, and go again.
Well, many thanks for sharing your present with all of us today, James. Have a good rest on the way back, and we'll see you next Saturday.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.
James McLean, the Wrexham captain, joining us on Matchday Live. Always great to have Jimmy with us, joining us on the show as we reflect on an epic afternoon for Wrexham in what is now basks in Fylde Coast sunshine. Maybe That is symbolic of the afternoon that we've seen. We drove up here in the rain this morning up the M6, then the rain stopped, and just as Wrexham found their groove, out came the sun. Let's have a look at next week's matches then, the penultimate round of games, our last match day live at home this season. Perhaps, if Wrexham do get the job done. We might be back for playoffs. Hopefully we won't be. Let's have a look then for next week. Stevenage against Birmingham is the Thursday game. That's one that Stevenage will perhaps have hopes in, although Birmingham today showing no mercy against Burton Albion. Bristol Rovers come up against Reading, who are banging form and looking for that 6th place in the table. Orient are up against Wycombe Wanderers. They are Reading's main rivals for that 6th spot. Richie Wellens has done a great job at Orient this season, one of the 2 clubs of course to win at the Stoke Kairas. Barnsley face relegated Shrewsbury. Burton Albion against Cambridge is a good opportunity on paper for Gary Bowyer's team to bank some points, you'd think. Crawley just about alive, still face Northampton, who are now safe. Exeter up against Huddersfield, nothing really on that one. Peterborough and Bolton, the same story. Stockport are still in the conversation, potentially for 2nd place, although it might take a fair run of unlikely events. But stranger things have happened there at home to Lincoln. Wigan face Blackpool, nothing on it for either of those sides. And at the bottom, Stevenage against Rotherham is on Sunday. Mouth-watering stuff ahead. 6 days is going to seem like an eternity, Mia, until we're back at the Stoke Kairas, I think.
I know, especially because of obviously the small gap between these 2 games. It feels like you just need that other one, to come just thick and fast now. But no, it is mouth-watering. I think that's the perfect phrase, really. And obviously brilliant to hear, Jimmy saying he's excited for it. And I think interesting as well to hear Phil, sort of demanding the fans right up for it as well. I think they will be, but to hear him actually, say that and ask for that as well. I think that's interesting and shows that he feels it, when they are at it. And I think today is a perfect example of even away from home how powerful those set of fans can be. So no, I'm sure it'll be bouncing the Kairas on Saturday.
Well, we gave them something to shout about today and get right behind really early on in the game, and so you could hear them before the game. They were great, but still, when that game kicks off, and we've had it the last few away trips where the fans have been at it, and it's just been quietened down by the home team. We gave them something to shout about, get their teeth into, and the players feed off that, and the crowd then feed off the players, and it's cyclical and so good. The crowd are at it, the players are at it. When you've got that, you've got a chance of winning a football match.
How did you feel Phil was post-match, Andy? What was your diagnosis? Put the psychologist hat on.
If he can't be happy now, surely, as a manager, you're looking at that and going, that's been a good day for us today.
Sure.
Not just off the back of the 2 results, it's the performance that they've put in today, because that goes, right, lads, that's the standard that we definitely need to set for the next 2 games, and because if we do that, we'll be fine. All right, don't drop below those levels, but also with one eye on the other fixture, and the 4-0 and the switch in goal difference has been huge today. So it's been a really good day for us, because we were low on Friday and we're really high now. But he's the master of 7 out of 10, stay in the middle, don't get too high when you go well, and he'll have those players focused. And like I said, they'll be in tomorrow. They'll debrief off today's performance, and it'll be a good debrief to go into if you're a player, because some are video nasties, but they'll be a good one to go into tomorrow, and they'll just be buzzing and looking forward to taking Charlton. And I think Wrexham could go into that game with, well, let's us do our own statement here and go, right, the team that's in form, the team that's just battered, the team that's in second, we're going to go and put a statement out and show that what we're all about, and that'd be brilliant.
And just on that point, Mia, clearly Phil making the point that today Steve Bruce had to be attacking, he had to win the game, so he always felt more chances would come. Nathan Jones is going to be in a similar position, isn't he? Because there's no danger Charlton are not going to be in the playoffs. If they're going to get automatic promotion, they've got to win the game as well. So it should be quite open, you'd think.
You'd think.
Unless Charlton are going to come and try and hit Wrexham on the break and nick a 1-0. But when you go to Wycombe and win 4-0, that doesn't look like that's their kind of philosophy.
No, and I think you can see that in results of since Nathan Jones has come in. Really, they've been very attacking minded and really fluid in that attacking sort of purpose and how they're playing. So I'd be surprised if they do sit back. But then that's what some teams have done against Wrexham, and it has worked. So it'll be an interesting one. I think Nathan Jones, like we said, very good manager. He'll be right up for it. He's quite a character, isn't he, on the side of the pitch, so I'm sure he'll give some fun interviews in the week and really build it up as well from a Charlton point of view.
Well, we should have won the game down there, really. We were poor in our game management right at the end of play and conceded a poor penalty, and I think one of their players was right in the faces of our lads when they give the penalty away.
That's right.
I would show that to my players in this week and go, listen, this is what they were like last time we
owe
played
one.
against them. Yeah, let's remember that.
No, for sure. Andy, Mia, thank you very much indeed. What an entertaining
Enjoyed
afternoon.
that.
I think co-chairman Rob McElhenney probably quite enjoyed that. Do you think? Sat in the Wrexham
He's just gone to get some
fans.
candy floss, actually.
Goodness, has he? Yeah, and a
I
donkey
think he was
ride.
sat down for the majority of the game, just chilling.
Different experience for him than on Friday against Bristol Rovers. Okay, well, following Wrexham over the last 160 years has certainly been a roller coaster. Here today, they travelled to the town in Britain most famous for thrills and spills and high-speed rides. They needed a performance that the fans could really cherish. Ultimately, they delivered the big one. From all of us here at Bloomfield Road, we'll see you on Saturday. Diolch yn wylio. Good night.